stream then.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Apologies, I'm having I'm in Angus House, but I can't seem to get a Wi-Fi connection, so I'm going to do it by voice. So, anyway, so if we do Communities Committee Exec Sub 9th of July, number 1, apologies and substitutions.
Andrew, I don't think there's any apologies or substitutions,
No,
is there?
okay.
Apologies, I was in mute there. No apologies or subs.
Brilliant. Okay, so if we go to number 2, declarations of interest, are there any declarations of interest?
No.
Take it the silence means there's not. Okay, so if we move on to number 3, which is an application for consent to place items on a public road and footway. And we have its application consent to place tables and chairs on a public road at the Market Arms, 95 High Street, Montrose. And we have recommendations 1 and 2. First of all, is there any questions? Aha, wait a minute. 2 seconds. Sorry, I'm getting I'll just keep going. Something's happening with me, so I might be getting a connection here in a minute. So, is there any questions from colleagues on this report?
Councillor Durner has raised her hand, convener.
Right, thank you, Councillor Durner.
Okay, thanks, convener. I do have concerns about this because obviously it's right slap bang in the middle of the high street in Montrose. Is there still a boutique open next to the Market Arms? There used to be a boutique there. I see you now. I see you, my Mark.
Sorry, I've got in now. My apologies. Right, thank you.
Yeah, a new look was there. Is there still a shop right next door to that? I think it's, well, I can't remember. I haven't been up there for a wee while, but I think there's a boutique right next door. Can you tell me what's on either side of the Market Arms, please?
I will get one of the officers. I don't think there is a boutique. I don't know, Tommy, Councillor Stewart, sorry, if you Market Arms, have we not got the Royal Bank?
No, you've got Frost's the Bakers to the left-hand side, and I think possibly what you're talking about, Brenda, would be Booth de Barras. Would that be what you're talking about?
Right.
Side, which
so is there both businesses either side of the Market Arms? Are they both still open?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, I do have concerns about this because obviously people coming out of these other shops, I know they've got a walkway there that they're wanting people to walk through. They have a similar sort of thing to this abroad when you're in like Tenerife and whatever. And it is actually quite intimidating if you're walking out of a shop and you're walking past people that are sitting outside drinking and they've maybe had a few drinks and they're quite merry, and you're kind of dodging people coming out of the pub with trays of beer, and you're going along there and you've maybe got kids in a buggy and running about. I don't know how they're going to manage this, because I think if it's busy, if the street's busy on a Saturday, I think it's going to be quite awkward for people to negotiate doing orders with trays of beer and people coming out of shops and walking past. It means that people might want to avoid walking past through that walkway, and then it'll put them onto the car park, walking around outside, which is dangerous. So that's really my concern I have on this one. But you guys know the area better than myself if you think it's doable, but I do have concerns about that. Thanks.
Is there any comments there? I know we have, so this is for officers, I know we have 2 parts to this. We have a roads consent, and then at some point in the future we'll have a licensing. I think at the moment I'm told that this is going to be done on an occasional license at the moment. So I don't know if Mr. Thompson or Mr. Cochrane want to comment on Councillor Durno's points, please.
If I may, as you say, this is a request to occupy part of the road network, and comes under part of the Road Scotland Act, and it also is also covered by licensing laws in terms of serving alcohol. The footway width that would remain, I think, is in the order of 3 meters, and we do allow the sort of cafe culture, if that's the right terminology, in our town centres for cafes and in this case the pub, in terms really of sort of encouraging that sort of inclusive cafe culture. But I do understand where Councillor Durno is coming from in that context, because this is slightly remote from the pub frontage, but it is here for members' consideration. I'll hand over to my colleague, Mr. Thompson, in terms of the licensing aspects.
Thank you, Convener. I don't know if I can provide Councillor Durno with all of the comforts she needs, but in terms of the occasional licence, patrons will be seated within the defined area of the Pavement Cafe and will not be permitted to stand in the area. Only table service will be permitted, and by that it's meant that staff will attend patrons in their area, ascertain their orders, bring drinks and food to the table, and in addition, staff will monitor the area to prevent breach of the terms of the occasional licence, underage sales or underage consumption of alcohol, and ensure order as per the 5 licensing objectives. And I think ultimately, if there are any issues, then they'll get to the licensing board in some shape or form, be it through Police Scotland or through local members or members of the public. So we will be in a position to monitor the situation. And as I say, the premises are currently being operated under an occasional licence, which only lasts for a fortnight, and it has to be renewed thereafter. So hopefully that will provide some comfort that if there are any issues in the premises, that they will be able to be controlled under the occasional licence conditions.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that sounds more reassuring there, Councillor Salmon. So
Thank you.
as long as it's being monitored, I'm quite happy with that. Thank you.
Okay, can I just make 2 points before I bring Councillor Stewart in? 1 point, there is a cafe further down called Madison's who have a licence, consent to have tables and chairs on the pavement. That's been there for many years and it's been very successful, and I'm not aware of any issues, and the area concerned from that specific premise was quite a large area compared to the area we're looking at. That business has now ceased to trade, so that outside area won't be used by the cafe. And the second point was, I'm going to bring forward a condition, hopefully that we can agree to, that something like Mr. Thompson's just outlined there, and it's along the lines of, well, this is the specific one: patrons will be permitted to consume meals and drinks in the authorised area seated at tables. Because that's the point that Mr. Cochrane was making. We're really hoping to have a sort of cafe culture, so that it's sitting at tables to consume, and it might not be alcohol they're consuming, because this premise does do coffees and food as well. So it may be coffees and soft drinks, but obviously he is looking to do it for alcohol as well. So that's the point I wanted to make. That's a condition I would be asking us to agree. So sorry, Councillor Stewart, can I bring you in, please? Sorry.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, I just want to ask officers, it's probably Ian that would maybe answer this one, Mr. Cochrane. Will the premises be required to remove the tables and chairs at the end of every day? The question's 2 parts, or my comment is rather, there is a lot of households up the close to the right hand side of the Market Arms. There's about a dozen houses up there, and they also they bring their wheelie bins out for getting emptied. Now, given the layout of the car park, they wouldn't be able to put their wheelie bins directly outside the close, because there would be cars parked there, and traditionally the bins have been placed in this area where the build out is, where they're looking to put the tables and chairs. So where do they get displaced to? Because I'm quite sure Frost the Bakers further down the street, they're not going to be too enamoured to have a dozen wheelie bins outside their shop waiting for getting emptied.
Thank you, Councillor
Sorry,
Stewart.
Mr. Cochrane. Yeah, so I'm looking through the paperwork. So yeah, please just keep going.
I'm doing exactly the same.
I think Mr. Barnes might be able to help us. Sorry,
Convener.
Mr. Barnes might be able to help us because I think that was part of the plan from the applicant, was where they intended to put the wheelie bins. But please go on.
So item 8, I think, is probably the one I would refer to, and I can see Mr. Barnes nodding. That the tables and chairs is restricted for the half an hour before licensing hours granted by the board and terminating at 8 p.m. So I trust that helps. I don't know whether Mr. Barnes wants to add anything in terms of the discussion with the client.
Yeah, that's what. Thanks, Ian. That's what I was just going to point out. Condition 8 of the conditions is quite clear. The hour before the licensing hours and tables and chairs to be removed by 8 p.m. In terms of the bins, if you look at Appendix 2, the plan shows that the bins would be sited along the front of the footway, as Councillor Stewart has suggested, sort of in front of Frost's the Bakers.
Mm-hmm. Going back to condition 8, it doesn't actually say that the tables and chairs need to be removed, although it does say the placing or depositing of the items. It doesn't say that they need to be removed, though.
We can add that slight tweak to the wording if that addresses your concern, Councillor.
Yeah, that would help. I think that would be helpful, just for total clarity for everybody involved, the applicant and the 3 elected members making this decision. Can I ask whoever legal wants to give me the advice here? In the condition that I read out that the meals and drinks will be consumed at the area seated at tables, do we add that into the conditions, or how is that going to be done? David, sorry, Mr.
Thank you, convener. Just to clarify the condition, convener, it's patrons will only be permitted to consume meals or drinks in the authorised area seated at tables, and if the subcommittee's minded to do that, then I would suggest we just have an additional condition 15.
I would like to do that if colleagues, if Councillor Durno and Councillor Stewart were happy. I think that's that. We can start this off, or the applicant can start this off, I think, in the right way. So yeah, if we can do that, that would be brilliant. Are we moving towards, this is for Councillor Durno and Councillor Stewart, are we moving forward to agree this with that additional condition, or do we want to have a further discussion on this?
I'm happy to agree to that.
Yeah, I'm happy to agree, and I suppose as well, Councillor Salmon, that it will be weather dependent as well, because I don't suppose they'll put tables and chairs right if it's bucket and rain. They'll just put it out when it's a nice day.
Okay, right. So if I move the recommendations 1 and 2 with that additional condition 15 added in, can we agree that?
Great.
And Councillor, the additional slight change of wording to item 8.
So my apologies, and the tweak to number 8 as well. Thank you. Mr. Thompson, did you want to say?
Yeah, sorry, convener. It's just to clarify that the condition 8 will be amended with words to the effect that the items could we put in there items including tables and chairs and the barrier?
Yes, please.
Or we could put the placing or depositing of all items, including tables and chairs and the barrier.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
That will. I think that'll cover the concerns Councillor Stewart's mentioned.
Perfect. Thank you.
And they will be removed at 8 p.m. or after that, whatever, 30 minutes after that.
Yes. Okay. Everybody agreed? Fantastic.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so if we move on to agenda item number 4, which is improvements to coastal path Elliott links on the National Cycle Network, Route 1 and Core Path Network. Colleagues, any questions on this for officers first? No, everybody happy? Any comments? Councillor Durno, maybe? Arbroath member?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Salmon. Just to say that this works is really urgently needed. There was a sponsored walk, a big one a couple of months back, and they actually got stuck there on the way back from Dundee because of the flooding. It's a path that's well used, and I think it really needs to be done urgently. If we can get it all up and running as soon as possible, that would be great.
I think Mr. Cochrane might be able to help us. I know Mr. Scott gave me an update before he went on holiday about timescales, and I think it was we'd hoped to do this as quickly as we possibly could. So maybe Mr. Cochrane could touch on that.
Thank you. Indeed, yes, that's why this report's in front of you, is that we're delighted to have the support of Sustrans to promote this project. It was one that we couldn't fund under the CWSR report, which came to you just in the last council meeting, but it was on our list to do, and with Sustrans prioritising it and making funding available, it's meant that we've been able to accelerate it in our programme. The team will indeed work with Sustrans and Nature Scotland in terms of the triple SI element, and try and accelerate these works to get them completed before any future flooding as far as we practically can, Councillor Durno, and being National Cycleway 1, we do absolutely acknowledge that.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. There's a park run planned for near the end of the year, so if we could maybe have it finished before then, but obviously maybe things will be held up by work and things like that. So hopefully, keep our fingers crossed, we can get it done soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else got anything? Any comments? Councillor Stewart? No.
No.
Right. I think we'll just move to the recommendations then. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody happy to agree all the recommendations?
Agreed.
That's great. Thank you very much. I think that's the end of today's meeting. Keep me right, yes?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. That's good there. Okay, thanks to all the team again. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.